you've started highlighting people being banned on social media. How do we fight this? Like, if you get banned from social media, so you're saying nobody will stand up to me?
Well, just figure out what your incentive structure is before. Assume that I get banned on social media because somebody wants to make sure that my message doesn't interfere with the dominant narrative.
Yeah.
Okay. What will happen? By the way, I'm very glad to be able to explain this on your show because that video will presumably be archived and they can't easily make you take it down. Okay. So what's going to happen is that there'll be a whole bunch of very low quality bot-like accounts that dog you every time you talk about me.
Right.
Dude, it's getting old, getting boring. We already heard you. Dude, that was like, let it go. Not a good look. Not a good look is one of my favorites.
But what about the high profile ones?
Well, then you'll get a few high profile ones, and some of the high profile ones command armies.
Right.
Like at some point I had 10,000 people using exactly the same templated tweet, tweeting at me. It was just actually, it got to the point where it was funny because everybody said, did you hear that in a hipster coffee shop? And I was like, why are you all suddenly talking about hipster coffee? It's hilarious. Those things will cause you to think better of it. You'll start to see your follower count go down because it's easy to give you a bunch of bot-like follows and then just pull them. So I think that it's pretty well known how, and then maybe your account will be suspended and it can't be revoked and, et cetera, et cetera. And then 3 days later, you'll be told it was an error.
So let me push back. I just don't see not defending you. Like, okay, so what are the things you would do that, given that I can actually talk to you offline, that would make me not defend you?
Well, first of all,
I can't. I mean,
no, but because,
I can imagine some.
But all of us have things. If somebody says, "Do you hear what your boy Lex said about you?" Mm-hmm. What did Lex say about me? Oh, he said you were flawed, dude. Oh shit.
Yeah.
They sow distrust because none of us want to stand behind flawed people. That's why you have everybody rushing to say, I neither condemn nor condone. I know I don't condemn nor, why? What is that? Mm-hmm. We're all trying to say. By the way,
for the record, I said that Eric is smarter than me and a brilliant human being, but flawed like all humans are.
My point is, I've now come up with a new policy, which is I don't care what my friends have done. I am not disavowing my friends. Not because they didn't do the wrong thing. Maybe they did do the wrong thing. I don't know.
What's the value of friendship if that's not
that? Like, for example, we've had the situation with Brian Callen. Brian Callen was featured recently in the Los Angeles Times. I know nothing about the allegations. I can't. I didn't even know Brian at the time, right? I've known him for roughly the time I've been in Los Angeles, maybe a year and a half. Mm-hmm. During that period of time, I've never seen anything wrong. Now I'm in a situation, well, what do you think he did? Do you think he didn't? It's like, you know what? I don't know. But I do know this. Everyone's entitled to have friends because we can't afford isolated people. And if your friends do the wrong thing, they're still your friends.
Yeah.
And if they do terrible, terrible things, you bring that up with them privately. And it's not my responsibility to disavow in public. We've had this situation that I don't like where, particular people that I've been close to, I'm put under tremendous pressure to disavow them. What do you think now about your buddy?
Oh, like Dave Rubin, all that kind of stuff.
Here's the thing.
Just because
my friends are my friends. Yeah. I don't disavow my friends.
Yeah.
We all need to make a statement that we will not be brought under pressure to disavow our friends, our family members, because mass murderers are dangerous the more isolated they become. It is not a good idea to constantly push to isolate people.
Yes.
And it's dangerous. And so
it sends a signal to everybody else to fit in, to be more cynical about the human connections we have to each other.
If I find out you've been selling heroin to elementary school students, you're still my friend. And I will not be disavowing you. And if I have a problem with you selling heroin to elementary school students during school hours, I will bring it up with you privately. Mm-hmm. Because we don't need to hear my voice added to that condemnation. Are there things that you could do that would cause me to say, actually, F this guy? Yeah, above and beyond that. But simply doing the wrong thing, I think we've gone down a terrible path. I think isolated people are about the most dangerous thing we could have in a heavily armed society.
So I deeply agree with you on Brian Callen and on all these people that quote unquote got canceled.
And I'm not saying that I don't know the truth value, because we can't. And even if I did know the truth value, I'm not setting up an incentive structure for the personal destruction as a means of letting institutions combat the fact that individuals are the last thing that can say, none of you guys make any sense. I don't treat these things like, I had a conversation where Kevin Spacey was at the dinner table when I came down from a hotel room, and I had a very long conversation with Kevin Spacey. I will not detail, because I don't do that, as to what we discussed. Mm-hmm. But we talked very specifically about him being canceled. And I don't think that the world has heard that story, in part because there's a very strong sense that he has to be outgrouped. And as a result, do we want to disavow the space program because it touched Wernher von Braun? Do we want to disavow quantum mechanics because Pascal Jordan and Werner Heisenberg passed through it? Is Ehrenfest's theorem false because he murdered his child? No. At what point do we recognize that we are the problem? Humans are humans, and there is no perfect group of people. Even all of the most oppressed people, the supposed victims of the world, who we now have fetishized into thinking that they're all oracles because their lived experience informs us and their pain is more salient than everyone else's pain. Those people aren't necessarily great people. It's like none of us. We can't do this in this fashion.
So when we sit down to have a conversation across the table from somebody, you should be willing to, you should not have NPR in your mind. You should be willing to take the full risk and to see the good in the person with limited information, and to do your best to understand that person.
Everybody is entitled to a hypocrisy budget. I don't believe this is of institutions.
Yeah.
Okay? Everybody is entitled to a certain amount of screwing up in life. You're entitled to a mendacity budget. You're entitled to an aggression budget.